Hey, welcome back. David from Unqualified Critics. Thanks so much for watching. Today I got an email, and many of you probably saw the same thing. Arcade1up's at it again with a market research survey, and this is as good an indication as any about the direction the company will take. Before we jump in, I do want to ask you if you've been enjoying the channel to hit that subscribe button. We've got a pretty healthy list of subscribers, but more always help with the YouTube algorithm and just generally getting exposure for the content. If you want to stay up to date on home arcade products, nerd type hobbies, you're in the right place. Hit the sub button. Really appreciate it. If you're not enjoying the channel and you're just kind of passing by, then hey, thanks for watching anyway. So I want to go through this, and most of it's just pretty vanilla market research stuff that we could skip, but there are a few points that I want to highlight and give you my take on, because I do have an opinion on this. The question is, which of the following arcade cabinets would you consider purchasing in the next 3 years? Now, you could read this one of two ways. One, they're just asking generally, what are you planning to buy? They may or may not ever make it, but would you buy, for example, a full-size cabinet? The other way to read it is they are considering making this stuff, and that's the way I do read it, because they spent the time to do market research on this. Why would you do that if you would never buy the cabinet? I guess it'd be helpful to know what they're up against as far as competition, but later in the survey, they actually ask you, are you going to buy a full-size cabinet basically from somewhere else? So they're trying to figure out, is there a demand, I think, for an Arcade1up full-size cabinet? Again, I could be misreading this, but that's my take. They've also said before, various company representatives in interviews, that they are considering a 6-foot cab. And what is a full-size cabinet? Well, it's 6 feet. So I have a few thoughts on this, and I did not check the box for that. I checked for the mid-size cab. We'll be buying more of those. Countertop, I don't think they've done a good job with that. That's more of a toy for like a kid's bedroom. I wouldn't put that in my game room. The wall cabinet, it's not really for me. I don't like that the screen is completely straight. Again, I think a little more of a toy. I don't hate these products, but they don't have a lot of appeal for me. Head-to-head cabinet, or as I like to call them, a cocktail table. Yes, I would absolutely buy another one of these, and I have room for one more. I'm waiting to see what they come with. I'm hoping we get an ultimate Namco cabinet with Dig Dug, Pac-Man, all of that, and with really good quality controls. They came close with the Black Series Namco, but not quite. I already have the Street Fighter Black Series and really like that cabinet. So I am excited that they're considering doing more of these. Pinball, we all know they're going to come with Pinball. But they mentioned a touchscreen gaming table. So they've talked before about an Infinity Games table. It's like a coffee table that plays games. And I thought they were talking about board games and that they would have storage for the board games. And I thought I heard them say board games before, but I could be wrong. This is very clearly not board games. It's like one big touchscreen tablet that you would sit down on and mess around with. I could kind of see it. I do play some board games, but I probably would not buy this. It'd have to be pretty compelling. It'd have to have a great games list. And if it did include mostly like real board games adapted to a digital footprint, like a Tickets to Ride, could be interested in that. If it's just a bunch of mobile type games, then for that reason, I'm out. So that's interesting though. I think the biggest piece is the 6-foot table. So let's get back to that. I've said before they ought to do a more expensive, more premium cabinet. But yet I didn't check the box here. Well, why is that? Well, I don't think it ought to be 6 feet. Yes, I know some people want larger cabinets, but I don't think most people do. I think a big advantage for Arcade1up is they are smaller. And they're trying to sell us a lot of cabinets to put in our game room. The bigger it is, the less room we're going to have. It's like if you do a movie with a really long run time, the theaters literally can't screen it as many times during a day, so you lose money. It's the same principle here. The bigger this goes, the less we can fit into our game rooms. I think 4 feet is a good size. I know there's some guys out there 6'5", and they'll gripe about it's not tall enough. I don't know. I question that a little bit. I mean, do you complain if you're in a real arcade? Because the control panel is the right height. It's the same height as a normal arcade. The screen is a little bit lower, yes, but you could always sit on a stool. So I don't know. I think for most people, the 4-foot cabinet is the right call. Now, that's with the riser. I would like to see them integrate that riser and actually just make it all one piece. I think if they're going to do a higher quality, something closer to commercial grade, they're not selling that at Walmart or Target. I think they're going to be selling that online. And if it's online, then the box size doesn't really matter as much. So you don't need to stick to that box size that's small enough to fit on a retail shelf. You go bigger. So you could fit the longer cabinet in. I would like to see a commercial grade cabinet that's smaller, but for this reason, I didn't select the full size commercial grade. I also think 1 to 3,000 is too much. I think 800 to a grand, maybe 1200 tops for something approaching commercial grade. I don't even think it has to be full commercial grade. I think it has to approach commercial grade. Like, it doesn't need the full 300-pound setup. I think 1,000 to 3,000 is too expensive. I think for a smaller cabinet, they could get away with 800 to 1,200 for something even just approaching commercial grade. Look at the biggest takeaway from these two images. I mean, here's a real cabinet. And then here's the Pac-Man 40th, which is arguably one of their better looking cabinets. And it really is night and day. I want this look. Replicate has done this in a 1/6 scale. I want to see it in a 3/4 scale. I think Arcade1up needs to do that and stay in their lane with smaller cabinets. The only other thing I want to point out here, they do talk about replacing your Arcade1up. They're testing the waters to see, are you interested in upgrading your cabinet, buying a new one? How often would you do that, and what would get you to pull the trigger on a replacement cabinet? I think there is a time and a place for this when they need to sell us new versions of games we already have, because they're going to run out of games eventually. I don't think now's the time. There are already a lot of complaints with them re-releasing the same games over and over. A couple of games from the existing Marvel cabinet are showing up on the X-Men vs. Street Fighter cabinet. Pac-Man has now been released 700 times. Galaga, Galaxian, they're getting re-released as pack-ins with other cabinets. Give us some new stuff, and let's worry about going back and upgrading later. I still think there's a pretty rich mine of arcade titles that have not yet been released, so I think it's too early to look at this. I think they're just going to annoy people with this. All that said, I selected none of the above here because I don't want to encourage them to try to get us to buy new cabs. I would consider buying a new cabinet for online play with some of these fighting games, but the truth is, upgrading 10 or 12 arcade cabinets, which is how many I have, and I know many of you have a lot too, that is not realistic. We've spent a lot of money to build an arcade. They ought to be giving us modular parts. And that's fine. You can monetize it. Sell us an upgraded PCB with Wi-Fi capability. Sell us DLC that we can download and add games to our cabinet. I think that's the right approach for now. Worry about giving us new versions of the cabinet later. Build them right the first time. Monetize us for a couple years, and then maybe sell us a new cab in 5 years. And to be fair, maybe that's what they're thinking. I just don't think it is. I think they want to keep churning out these cabinets and selling us gradually better quality ones like they've done with Pac-Man 40th. I'm not into that. I didn't buy Pac-Man 40th because I already have Pac-Man. Yeah, the new one's better, but it's not worth $500 for me to have a slightly better Pac-Man. Now, notably, I went through this entire survey, and I did just save a screenshot here. I had issues with their survey provider, kept timing out and stuff. So, but I did go through the whole thing, and there were no questions about DLC. I'm a little disappointed about that. I'm hoping that this is something they're really planning. Maybe that's because they've already decided to do it, and they're not looking for more market research. But I tend to think if this is coming soon that they would have added it to this survey. The survey was pretty big and pretty exhaustive. So guys, that's my take. What do you think? I do think they're considering a full-size cabinet. Would you buy that? Is this the right price? Do you want to stick to the smaller cabinets? Do you want more of the functional furniture stuff? Or are you really just excited for pinball? Let me know in the comments what you think. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. And again, if you want to stay up to date on home arcade news, leave a subscription. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Dripping lights paint the sky.